Well, it's quite shocking, really, and annoying, because whenever I park my car in a no parking spot, you can bet a street warden is just around the corner to give me a ticket. But when the mafia is trying to get its dirty money cleaned, there's not enough staff around to check it. Well, let's get someone in to shed some light on this issue. Christian Humborg, he's the Managing Director of Transparency International Germany, and he's an expert on the difficult subject of money laundering. It's very good to have you here, and it is a difficult subject because for once, somehow it doesn't seem to be quite clear why money laundering is actually such a big problem. Who does get hurt by it?
Money laundering is the necessary instrument by which criminals or kleptocrats or dictators can bring the money that they have acquired illegally into the legal system. And without money laundering, they would sit on their money but not being able to spend it. Therefore, if we want to suspend these activities, we also have to fight money laundering. Okay, so it's a really serious criminal offense, and the OECD is also putting it in context with terrorism financing, so it's certainly nothing to just shrug your shoulders about. But at the same time, it seems to be quite surprising that Germany turns out to be so attractive for money laundering. How come? How did this happen? I think there are two reasons. One reason is that Germany is considered a safe haven, a safe country. If you have money here, you feel you will still have it in 20 years. And I think the second reason is that the regulations in Germany fighting money laundering are not as strictly enforced as in other comparable countries, and I think that's something that we really have to look at and where politicians have to act.
But why is that? I mean, I just mentioned the example of the parking space that you immediately get a ticket. So with these small offences, the authorities are there immediately. Why not with something as big as money laundering?
I think one problem is that for the non-financial sectors, and that's, for example, jewelry or car dealers, the local authorities that also look after your parking ticket, they are responsible for checking on anti-money laundering efforts. But for the financial sector, we have a central unit, and it makes a lot of sense in something as complex as fighting money laundering to have a central authority and not to have hundreds and hundreds of people locally trying to deal with this matter.
And what are the chances that we will see such a central authority come into being?
I think there have been debates in the past, and I would also assume that the international pressure on Germany to change these standards is high. So we would hope for change also in other areas. For example, we need a beneficial ownership register in Germany so you can see who's really behind a company. These are other measurements.
But we do have something like a trade register. And bank accounts, you also need a name for that.
We have a trade register, but we don't know who the real beneficial owner is behind a company very often. And it's now many countries pushing for such a register, where Germany is still very skeptical and is kind of not in line with what is planned at the European level in Brussels. And I think it's important that we really know who's behind a company and that we can see that in a register.
Okay, well, maybe the OECD pressure will change something about that. Christian Humborg, thank you very much for joining us.